All right, hi and welcome everyone. Welcome everybody who's here. I'm super excited, and we're going to be talking a little bit about maybe what's coming and what we're going to be hopefully seeing over there and what the experience could be. I'm really excited. For those of you that don't know, or maybe you've never heard of ECETI, ECETI Ranch, ECETI itself stands for Enlightened. Really excited about it. James Gilliland is the owner, proprietor, and creator of sort of the ECETI Ranch and the ECETI experience. And I think one of the things I want to talk about is kind of like why is it that I wanted to go, and what's the purpose of going, and maybe what in our awareness, and all of those sorts of things. And so let me try to do a quick adjustment camera here. Maybe so it won't bend as much. All right, there we go. So one of the things I wanted to do in this journey, fix this. Okay, one of the things I wanted to do in this journey was kind of share some of the things that are happening as I get ready to go on the trip, and what I'm learning and what's coming in. And as I'm getting ready to leave, it's been very interesting because as many of you know, I've been communicating with Edwin Spina, who's going to be there with me. And Edwin's a really popular guest at UWealth Revolution. And one of the things that we've been talking about a lot is, energy interference and kind of what happens when you're about to catapult to a new level in your life. Sometimes you can come up against interference. Now that could be your own interference. It could be interference from some sort of other worldly type of dimensional being. It could just be, interference, just moving out of the mold of where you've been. And that happened to me the last 2 nights. I woke up exactly at 3 a.m. and couldn't go back to sleep for about an hour. The first time, it was very interesting because, as I've been talking about going on this trip. I've been making it, a public, so to speak, with people, letting people be aware. And I'm sure that there are other beings that are aware that I'm going on this trip. One of the things that I started sort of sensing was, I'll try to adjust this camera a little bit, was this sort of like this feeling of like a little bit of a energy interference, kind of like something was there not letting me be at peace like at 3 a.m. in the morning. And so I didn't really like that, and it definitely felt like something was weighing me down. And usually I'm very relaxed and easygoing about things, and sort of like excited about the trip. And I started getting this like very heavy dread and like this feeling like I was getting weighed down from moving forward. So the interesting thing about that, when I talked to Edwin, he's like, yeah, something was, getting involved in your energy field, maybe kind of trying to keep you from really being as open as you could be. So we did some energy clearing work. I did some energy clearing work that night, and went to bed and woke up feeling a lot better. And so I want to share what I did because it might be helpful for a lot of people here. We've got about 4 people on right now. So if you've got a question or anything, I'm not looking at the phone, just so everyone's aware. Sometimes when I do these driving, people have sent me messages like, oh my God, you're going to crash. I'm like, I really am not looking at the phone. I'm just looking at the road and talking, which is actually a cool thing because I get a lot of intuition and guidance while I'm driving. So the energy clearing I did when I woke up in the middle of the night and started having these like sort of terror thoughts and these heavy feelings, the first thing was I just went in and I brought in a divine energy shield, and I did what I call like the shield up exercise. And so I just imagined a white light all around my body, imagine an energy field covering me and connecting me to the divine bliss field, to the divine mother, divine father, creator. And I basically just connected into that energy field and then said shield up, and brought that shield all around my body. So immediately I could feel that there was this almost like being cut off from some of the older energies, some of the older frequencies that were there affecting me at that moment. So I felt better. The other thing I do a lot, if I ever feel like that, is I'll call on Archangel Michael. I'll call on some of the higher angels, ascended masters and guides, and just say, hey, you know what, I need some support here. And so I'll just call on Archangel Michael and ask Archangel Michael to come in with his sword and just cut any cords, any attachments, and pull anything off of my energy field that's affecting me. And that's what I did when I was in that place. Now, last night when I woke up, I didn't, in the middle of the night, I didn't have any negative thoughts or anything like that. Honestly, it was, as my little boy, we're potty training the boys, and not potty training, we're training him to sleep at night without a diaper. And one of my boys peed in his pants, so he came in at 3 a.m. and woke us up, and we had to, clean him and everything and fix his bed. So it was okay, but I still couldn't go back to bed. I started having all these thoughts about things, but it was much more positive. So I definitely get the feeling that there's some awareness of something happening. There's some awareness of openings coming, and I can kind of feel like this energetic pull to something very, very different and new as I get to ECETI. Now, you may say, okay, this is interesting. What is Enlightened Contact with Extra Terrestrial Intelligence? Honestly, I don't have any idea because I haven't experienced it yet firsthand at ECETI. But what I know from listening to James and listening to a lot of other beings is that at ECETI, it's kind of like a dimensional portal, dimensional vortex. I'm going to turn right now. And at that place, what happens is that people connect in to different frequencies, and we connect into different dimensional beings that are in existence in those different frequencies. So there's one school sort of in the ufology school that, when are the aliens going to come? When are the interdimensionals and really the extraterrestrials is the main focus sort of in that primary school of thought, that these beings are just going to visit this third dimension and they come in and out. Well, I think with a lot of the stuff that I've heard James talk about, which is very insightful, is that really it's more of a dimensional access, that on all these different dimensional continuums from the third to the fourth to the fifth to beyond, they're different beings. They're different frequencies of light, frequencies of energy that coalesce around consciousness. And so in those different dimensions, you've got different beings doing things, operating, connecting in. And so if you can tap into the fourth dimension, for example, you might find that there's all sorts of things that are connecting into our awareness, all sorts of things out there that are affecting this reality. So we talk a lot with Edwin Spina, who I'm super excited to meet up here at the airport, about these different dimensional beings. And so what do we talk about? What do we say? Well, what we say is that these beings exist at certain dimensional frequencies, just like sounds can exist at a certain sound frequency. If I blow a dog whistle, you're not going to be able to actually hear the dog whistle, right? The dogs will hear a dog whistle. A dolphin could hear certain high-pitched sounds that we can't even connect to or listen to, but we can't hear them. Now, that doesn't mean that those sounds and frequencies aren't there. So is it possible that at ECETI we sort of all lift our vibration and we start to be able to see and perceive things through the veil of third dimensional consciousness that we wouldn't otherwise? I don't know. We'll find out, or is it just a place where, they feel safe, or there's a sort of a dimensional vortex where they're able to come in and connect in, or make themselves known, or make themselves seen or present. So we're going to find out. Now, one of the interesting things about ECETI too, the reason I wanted to go, is that, there's going to be some great lecturers there, but it's not just sitting and listening to a lecture. A lot of people, they go to different events and it's like you learn in a hotel ballroom, which is fine. I mean, there's a place for that, but you're going to get to actually at ECETI, from what I understand, go and skywatch, right, at some point at night. It's even in the schedule. So we're going to get to go out and watch Mount Adams, watch for these ships, watch for these craft, and having James there, hopefully, and guiding us and connecting us. It's going to be really cool. So you actually get to learn, connect in this vortex, and then go out and see what you see. And so it's going to be really cool. The other thing that I really like about it is the person that is organizing it and who owns it and who lives there and works there, which is James Gilliland. I've been listening to him for quite a long time. I really love his work. I love what he shares, and I love his consciousness, because he's not just somebody who is trying to get one level of information or access to things that we don't see with our naked eyes, or what we call, non-terrestrials. He's not just like, oh, I want to find an alien and this is going to be truth. Like, he really looks at this like, this is more of a multi-dimensional story of all different levels of what we truly are, that we exist in this universe. And I don't want to misquote him, but this is my interpretation. We exist in this universe of many multi-dimensional light beings, many multi-dimensional things happening, many multi-dimensional levels of consciousness, levels of awareness, levels of frequency, that are all happening at many different times and many different speeds, right? And so we're only able to perceive a very small number of these, and this small limited framework reference has been our experience as humans. And we're now starting to open up and step up that vibration where we're able to perceive all of it. And in doing so, I think we can really begin to understand what we are as human beings, what we really are as humans on this planet, and also unlock much of the information that hasn't been available to us. We can talk about counter-rotating gravity, counter-rotating Mercury, anti-gravity, all these different things that are energy technologies that we now realize have been created and are in use by these higher dimensional beings, and some of the different beings. So I think it's very cool, because it's like a gateway to moving the dimensional shift of this reality forward. Now, James is also a really cool guy, and he aligns with so much of what our teachers teach, because he's not saying that, oh, it's all going to be great, aliens are great. No, I mean, there's good and bad. If you study the Hermetic wisdom, as above, so below, there is going to be non-duality in any state. There's going to be dualistic energies. There's in the fourth dimension light beings and lower vibration beings. There are some people that even said in the fifth dimension there's higher dimensional beings and somewhat diminished dimensional consciousness beings. So we have to remember that just because something's passed on or something's in spirit form doesn't mean that's automatically enlightened. And this is where I think that a lot of the times that we get channelers and people that, no, I'm very careful with channelers, because I don't always think that people channel the most divine beings, and they don't know if they've got personal biases or personal needs from the lower root chakras, how to discern whether that energy is pure or whether that energy is corrupted or the energy has an ulterior motive. So we had a situation at UAuthor Evolution where there was a guest that wanted to be on our show, and there was a channeling aspect to that work, and I got a chance to connect with them, and it felt very, very dark, very heavy, very much like off. And I just said, no, I don't want to have this person on the show. I don't want to do it. And I told them, I'm not sure you're going to be on. I'm really feeling into this. And then, my producer and I said, I just don't want this. And so, one of the things that I think we have to be aware of whenever we go into any place or any show or any meditation room or any place where we're doing higher frequency work is, be aware that, your vibration where you are right now could be even higher than some of these beings that people are saying are ascended beings. They may not be. They may be beings that are still trapped in a lot of karma, a lot of stuck energy. They could be trapped in a lot of stuff they haven't yet resolved. And so I've seen this a lot, and I've seen this quite a bit when I've been in different situations where people will bring in something, and it feels absolutely heavy. And I want to share what it feels like, because as I go to ECETI, I'm going to be very aware of these sorts of feelings and not allow anything that's not of the light to reach my field. And I'm not looking for anything to change my field. And this is a viewpoint, I think, lost connection. I'm sure it'll be back. One of the things that I'm always looking for, sorry, we lost connection there, is a connection to that wisdom. So I look at different higher dimensional experiences, different beings, different energy. All right, looks like we're back. Sorry, we're just driving through a little area here without some good internet. The reason I see things this way, the reason I see the world this way, is because of the gentleman that's taught me hypnosis. Was a man who is amazing named Gerald Kine. About them, go to Omni Hypnosis, look it up. Gerald Kine, K-I-N-E, not K-I-N-D, but K-I-N-E. And Gerald Kine taught me, or Jerry Kine, taught me that there was a way to reach a dimensional platform, a stepping stone of consciousness, where quite literally you could access the Christed consciousness, and from that space you had access to anything that you would like, right? And so he called this ultra height, and this was a method where you would connect in to a very high frequency of vibration, almost like, if you could be at the level of, let's say, the ascended Master Christ, there would be a certain level of information, of ability that you could access. It's like a radio station. If I have FM radio, I can access all the stations on that FM radio. And if that FM radio had a station for soul healing or energy healing or body healing or seeing like forward regression or forward regression hypnosis, all of that, my awareness radio band, the frequency of these radio bands, it became very clear to me. And when I learned this from Jerry, it became very clear to me that higher dimensional consciousness is not something that any one being gives you or any one person gives you. It is something that you plug into, and from that you have a full host of that's the understanding that I have about higher dimensional awareness. So we may have lost connection a little bit. I'm at a light, so just kind of looking at this a little bit. Okay, yeah, we may have lost connection, but it'll be okay. It'll come back. So that's the thing. And so when you go to these places, or you go anywhere, a retreat, or you're going to get close to somebody who's a teacher, expect not that they're going to give you anything, because that in and of itself is a fallacy. You have everything. What you want, at least from my perspective, and you use your own discernment, what you want, or what you may want to consider, is what can I move out of the way that is not my truth, that allows me to open up to my truth and receive more of what I am. Like, what is it that I can connect to that's going to allow me to do that? And that's the way that, when I look at even going to ECETI, I don't think that anything is going to teach me anything. I'm just going to be in a place, in an environment, and in a concentrated energy. I've left my wife and kids, I've left the house, I've packed all my stuff, I've done all the work that needs to be done so that I can have this space. And in this space, things are going to come in that wouldn't ordinarily come in my normal environment. And that's just the truth. But also, we can tune into higher environments and energies and have that whole suite or buffet of options of consciousness that we may not ordinarily have in some of the other dimensions or some of the other awareness states that we have. So another guest that's going to be there that I'm really interested in meeting, and I'd love to get her on the show, I think y'all are going to really like her, let me fix this, is a gal by the name of Allison Coe. And Allison does something really cool. She does really like a metaphysical hypnosis, but she does what I would call like forward life progression and future timeline healing. And she's actually taken people into future lifetimes and future timelines to see what's going on, what are the areas that need to be healed. And even what's really interesting is that she will take people into the lifetime where they've resolved the karma of this lifetime. And so she's going to be there speaking. So imagine if, let's say, you've been working with poverty in this lifetime, and it's something that's just been really a challenge for you. Well, I mean, through hypnosis and understanding that you are a connection point to all your future lives, and all of them are, in essence, happening at the same time, we can access that lifetime where you resolved an abundance challenge, you resolved a poverty challenge, you resolved whatever challenge it is. Because if we assume that we continue to reincarnate until we resolve that issue, there has to be, as long as the timeline keeps going out long enough, a lifetime where you didn't have that karma and you embodied a certain energy that resolved that situation. So that's what Allison does. One facet of her work that I've seen, and very cool. She also gathers information about the future and like what's going to happen to the planet, what's going to happen with this, what's going to happen with that. But so if you can actually embody and bring forward the energy from a future timeline where you weren't challenged, where you weren't struggled, where you didn't have that feeling of lack, then you now can embody that energy and heal that in this physical space right now. So how cool is that? She's going to be there, so I'm really excited about connecting with her. So it should be a really great thing. I want to make sure if there is anybody with questions, submit your questions. Let me know what's your biggest question about ECETI, about connecting in, about consciousness, about moving forward, about what's going on, about what I'm going to do there, or anything at all. We're getting a lot of questions right now as it's July 3rd, 2019, kind of about the state of the planet, the state of things, what's happening, what's going on. And all I can say with reasonable certainty is that there have been a lot of forces in control of the agenda on the earth. And I think most people will agree that a lot of the things that have been coming out, no matter what side you're on, you know, are not all in the interest of humanity. And, you know, just like we talk about even technologies, that there have been technologies to create free energy that just don't get out there. Well, why don't they get out there? Is it because they're bad? They may not be fully developed to the point that they could scale to an entire planet, but chances are, if they got out there, a great deal of industries would lose money until they were able to transition. So there is that potential for people to hold these technologies back for their own self-interest, or maybe the interest of, you know, giant conglomerate corporations and industries. We are going to start to see, I believe, a lot of this new energy, a new frequency, new vibration coming forward that we're in. And because of that, we are going to see that not as much can be hidden. It can't be manipulated. This is the blessing of the information age and the age we're in. Because if you think back, you know, let's say to the 1500s, and, you know, it's England and people are serfs and they work the land for, you know, big land barons and people that have tremendous wealth. A lot of these people, what access to information did they have? Did they have books? You know, did they have some way to actually verify or validate things that were being told to them? You know, if someone said, well, this is just the way that it is, could they actually validate that? Could they, you know, go research and go... Sorry, folks. Had a little accident, but luckily I'm not driving. I'm gonna stop on the road here. What happened? All right, we are fine. The phone just fell. It's one of the things. I'll let this thing kind of just sit still here for a second. But anyways, so, you know, folks did not have access. Folks did not have access to information all those years ago. So one of the things that, you know, of course, would happen is without information, humanity could not make certain decisions. Humanity could not really know what was their potential, what was in their divine appointment. And so what would happen is we would believe that there was a certain way that things had to be, a certain way that the world had to be. And there was no way for humanity to actually understand that full scope or the full extent of their power. So if a surf in the 1500s, I'll flip over here if you guys want to see where I'm at. If a surf in the 1500s wanted to discover what was really the truth of creation or the truth of their divine inheritance, they might go to the church, and the church would say, well, this is the truth that you need to know. And that was it. You know, it was very hard to get information like that out there beyond that point. And so what then happens is people believed that that's just the way it is and there's no other way, and consciousness slowly begins to move forward or expand, but it's very, very slow. It takes generations for that consciousness to even move, you know, maybe at the level that our consciousness moves in a week or in a month today. I mean, you're talking about 4 or 5 generations of people living and dying without much of a shift, because consciousness would move that slow in those types of environments where information is suppressed and controlled. Well, with the information age now, and so much information out there, everything is accelerating. I mean, there's so much out there, there's so much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much available, and so many platforms of independent journalism, like I'm doing right now, just sharing new ideas and new ways to see the world, that it's very hard for that information to not continue to expand and evolve consciousness. So the idea that somehow society is going to be controlled or organized in a way that limits the expansion that's happening is ludicrous. You know, it's like someone saying, well, I'm going to try to control an earthquake. It's just not going to happen. Now, luckily, we're moving more into a field of love and unification. And this is also something that, you know, is I think being played a little bit in our collective. We're being told that, you know, in order to have more love in the world, we have to give up our sovereign rights. We have to give up our individuality. We have to be like everyone else in some respects. And I don't believe that's necessarily true. That we can't have individual personal interests, individual personal identifications, individual personal soul sovereign destiny, and be fully loving. So there's this idea of like, well, we need this collective ideas, collective this, collective that. You can't have free speech, free thinking, free, you know, awareness of different opinions, you know. And so a lot of the censorship is under the guise of this sort of globally created super state, perfect world that is going to be controlled by who? By a few people, by people that decide what is the standards, and who controls those people? Who are those people? Are those people ascended masters, or do those people have the same fallibilities as everyone else? And that's the challenge, is that those people, of course, will, because they're humans in a human matrix. So, you know, to cede power to any one small group of people, to feel that that's going to be a way to make the world peaceful, just means that it's going to be potentially a very dangerous situation. And even if you have an amazing being that says, oh, I'm going to be the one that decides all of these things for the entire world, or this group, and they're very conscious and they're light beings and they're wonderful, what's going to happen if, bless these guys, these first responders, bless you, brother. All right, they're coming out here. There's a little bit of an accident here, so I'm just sending love to these guys who are doing all this stuff. You guys can't see it, it's kind of off to the side here. So what's going to happen if something happens and that first group is gone, and then now you have a second group that, you know, maybe they're not the most enlightened, maybe things change, maybe that enlightened group gets corrupted. To me, as a conscious being and as a lawyer who has seen thousands of cases where power is abused and innocent people are harmed, the ultimate check on freedom and individuality and rights is individuality and rights. I mean, that is the ultimate check. And once that seeks to be controlled or limited or curtailed in some way, it's a dangerous situation. But the good news is that I don't think this will be able to happen on the planet anymore, because so many people are awakening. People are awakening to their truth. They're awakening to their light. They're awakening to really what they are, and that is these multi-dimensional beings. I'm at a light, so I'm sort of stopped here. So that's what's going to happen, I think, on the planet. Let me know any of your questions. I don't know if I'm seeing that many that are coming in, unfortunately, I think because it's probably just not showing it to me, but I can't really read them because I'm driving anyway. So we'll just keep going here until we get close enough to the airport. The other thing that I think is really interesting about this trip is that we've got a very interesting divergence in the communities of, I guess you call it UFOlogy. It's not something I'm truly a part of. I mean, I'm really kind of just like a guy. I'm interested in consciousness and awareness, and wherever that leads me, that's fine, because I want to know more about the truth of our world. So what we're seeing, though, in this area, and if you follow people like Corey Goode or Jordan Sather or David Wilcock, is that there is an attempt to have sort of like a controlled disclosure, sort of like a controlled narrative, you know, of the truth, and not necessarily let the full come out. At least this is what I hear from a lot of people. So certain folks are getting, I don't want to say banned or blacklisted, but they're getting criticized, attacked within that subset community. So Corey Goode is one that's getting attacked, at least verbally, by some of the mainstream people in the UFO community. A lot of others are seeing that, and that actually have more of the opinion like mine that, you know, we don't need in a community that's supposed to be about disclosure and full awareness of what's really going on to censor ideas. If do not harm people, you're not inciting violence or the harm or the prejudice or the segregation of people, then as long as those ideas don't do that, we have to share ideas. And if somebody says, well, no, you know, I think that there's these things called blue avians that are, you know, these aliens that do X, Y, Z, just because that doesn't fit in your framework of what you've built your career upon and studied for eons, that doesn't mean it's not true, or that it even more so needs to be suppressed, or that person needs to be criticized. It'd be the same as if on You Author Evolution, if I had a certain energy methodology, which I do. I've got like 5. I mean, I've got methodologies. I've got things that absolutely work. I've got things that have turned people from struggling to multimillionaires in that one thing that I can teach doesn't know, and that the entire world has to organize around that one truth, and that any other person that has like a teaching methodology or something to help, you know, liberate people, that they're all of a sudden bad and we need to attack them because, oh my gosh, you know, my thing is the singular truth of everything. You know, that to me is a little dangerous. It's also very small-minded thinking. So, you know, this subsets of this community, and certainly, so before we lost the connection, hopefully we get it back. I was going to share with you that it's about 12:03 in the afternoon, and my flight does not leave until 2:40. So my wife is extremely organized. She made sure that I left the airport early for the airport. We've done everything here just to be sure I don't miss. Thoughts on that? I mean, to censor different ideas or ideologies that are not hurtful, that are just maybe not what we believe in. You know, if you're an energy healer and somebody has a new method, is it testimonials? If they have valid clients that have said, you know, this has helped me, this has served me, this has awakened me, why do that? I don't know. I mean, it's never been my side. But this is kind of what's happening in the UFO community. collection of people here that I feel like are a little bit on the cutting edge, and the space feels very open. Like I don't feel like there's anybody that has like the official agenda that we want to push is this, and if you don't agree with me, you're bad. It's all that we're like, what's the reason? What's the reason that I'm going? Make sure we get some connection back. Sorry about this. You never would think that system would have so many spots that aren't connected, but you know what? The other side of it is that it's Wi-Fi, so you know, and so in a lot of places we can. So I don't mind having a few dead spots to me, because it means that if we have dead spots while I'm driving, it means that we don't have Wi-Fi saturation like constantly stewing us like frogs in a soup. So so my goals here, as I'm getting closer to the airport, I'll slowly shut this thing down. But thank you for taking part in this drive with me to ECETI Ranch, day 1. I think the next time I find you in the next video will probably be landed in Oregon, and probably will be with Edwin driving. But you never know, I might live stream as I wait for Edwin. I may do that, so we'll see. I wanted to try to find my selfie stick, but I don't know if I have it. I wanted to see Edwin pull up. I thought that might be cool. I wanted to talk real quick about kind of my goals and why I want to go and what I want to do. About expansion, and I've had connection to the place. They've shown me like a box be used for healing, like a rejuvenation chamber. They've connected to me a lot. Connection with the Arcturian dimensional alignment matrix called, which is all about helping a collective to help align to that higher dimensional energy. So I've been having these glimpses, I've been having these moments, and I do definitely go through phases where I am really connecting in deeply to that energy and deeply to what they're wanting me to do and share. And then I have times when I am not able to, and my own schedule, my own life gets in the way. Even when I spend time to meditate or just be still, it just comes in differently. I want to be able to say that I have set forth a really allow this awareness to come in. And if you see, I'm international, so I'm going to turn over here, and we're almost at the airport as I make my way to ECETI. So I want to thank everybody for being on the live stream. I'm gonna here at the airport. I'll give you all a little view. It's a real pretty airport. This used to be a Bergstrom Air Force Base, and now it became an airport. It's really nice. One of my favorite airports. Really good barbecue here if you like that. And welcome to Austin International Airport. So very fun stuff. We're here, and let's see, car rental, parking. Okay, that's what I have to do. See, that's the tricky part, is that they have that little writing there, so I almost missed it. So long-term parking, do y'all see that? I think I see that. Let's see, long-term parking, there it is. So I'm gonna be right here, car rental. Did you see? Okay, terminal parking garages. See, that's where it gets tricky. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'll do the parking garage, and then I'm gonna go